We all want this even white light. Hello everybody, my name is Marco Bagnoli, I'm a cinematographer. Today we talk about your music videos, fashion videos, where you want this clean studio look, but it's always there's a darker spot, there's a brighter spot. In this video I'm going to explain you an easy setup how you can just get this nice even lighting without any problems. Today we're looking at this lipstick commercial, and the first thing I will tell you is, as you can already see, white doesn't mean white. Actually, these scenes are never really 100 completely white, that they're overexposed. They're near clipping, but most of the time they're just in this area, so have, by end of the day, still controllable the scenery. You don't want to clip your highlights, you just want the most even possible outcome on a higher level so that you still have control. What you don't want is that the background is the same brightness as your skin tones. This is where the problem comes from. So how will you start a shoot like this? First things first, we will completely ignore the actor at the beginning, because it's much easier to change the light on her than it's on the background. So we start with the background. First things first, we need an ambience. There's a different way to do it. I will do a big top light for a scenery, because most of the time we have an actor that walks in different places on the ground, so we need a soft area. So we do a 12 by 12, 20 by 20, it depends on your scene, with full, I would go always full or maybe half silk on there, and place several lights, your lights of choosing sky panels, apertures. You just need outputs, really good outputs, and with an egg crate, so you put everywhere neck around it with a grid on the softbox, and you just light down. So now we have a ground exposure on the floor, and it will bounce a little bit on the wall, so that now when the actor is moving, there you have always the same exposure. That's a good sign. Next thing is, now the wall in the back needs a little bit of light. There are different ways to do it. You probably, most of the time when you saw it, is in a studio you have this mounting options on the ceiling, and then you put something like a sky panel on the corner, on this corner, on this corner, or apertures, and just brighten up the wall. That's a way to do it, but I prefer much more if you do like 600 or 300x with a lantern. So lantern will give you a much more even light you can control. If you want 360, you can have 360 light, or you can still flag in of one side if it's too much for you. But I think you get a much more cleaner, even result with lanterns than just with this panel lights that are still a little bit spotty. Most of the time when people use vortex, they're even more spotty than a sky panel, and then you get problems with evening everything out. Also a lot cheaper than renting something like this. We need a lot of lights, so you want to keep it as cheap as possible, because you want to generate more money at the end of the day. Then the other option is, most of the time you do is actually for green screen, are these skylights, where you can put the Aputure in there, and you still get this 360-like feeling with just lights down and the light bounces in the softbox in this modifier and lights everywhere. But somehow they're a little bit fiddly to use, and I don't know, I prefer not to use them and use most of the time just the lantern. So now you have a nice ground exposure. But how do we check it? A lot of people will use waveform, where you hold your data and then you see how bright something is. Don't do that. Use false color. I still don't understand why such few people use false color. False color will tell you exactly which spot is brighter, this is darker, this darker. It just tells you with colors. I'm gonna show it for you exactly on this image, and now you can much clearer see without guessing, or is it in this area, or do we have a clean line? No, everything is just easily explained, and you can just do your thing. So after we've done this, we can drop the model, and 99% of the time you would light her with an umbrella, so umbrella light with HMI, which are these huge lights that you put on a boom arm and just straight into her face. It's this big beauty dish feeling that you know from big fashion photography. Here it will look something like this. They would probably use a much bigger one. It depends on the size, how soft the image will become at the end. With just that one light, you get this really nice, clean, but still punchy. It doesn't feel completely flat, and you can clearly see it on her eye that it's just one single light source that lights her. Then we're going in for more close-ups. The only thing I would add is probably most of the time you build a reflector just slightly under the frame, that we have a little bit more bounce into the eye sockets, that feels more alive. Or what you also can do is a clamp light. A clamp light is basically when you have the actor that's standing here, and then you have one light that shines into her, and then the other light, which is basically the reflector, are mounted together, that this light captures the light from the top light, bounces back in. So you practically build a clamp that gives you this nice soft feeling. But here it doesn't look like a clamp light because it's still a lot of contrast and a lot of shadows. It's not specific yet now in this location, but what you also can do is, what I tend to use, what looks better, you put a silver reflector in the background, use something like an Aputure spot and blast it into the silver reflector to give her an edge light. I think of the time it's beauty commercial, and this silvery type feeling just lets the light pop and glow a little bit more. And in this case, they didn't use it, but it's also a technique I use pretty often. So if you enjoyed this video, I really would appreciate subscription from you. Here is daily uploads. My name is Mogban Juli. See you next time.